Welcome back to the Worship Keys podcast. My name is Carson Bruce. So glad you're here today. I'm all alone. It's just me. Solo episode, a little different than normal. Just wanted to say thank you so much to all of my guests who've been on the podcast this past year. It's been incredible meeting each and every one of you. Some of you have been returning guests, some of you for the first time. And I want to say thank you so much. And to those who have been on this journey this whole past calendar year, 2025, thank you so much for being a part of the Worship Keys community. You guys are as much a part of this as any guest or as me as the host. We're so appreciative of what you do for your church, what you do for Christian music, and God sees your heart and God knows your heart. So thank you for being a part of that. If you've been a part of it all year long, let us know in the comments. Let me know. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I want to know where you guys are from. Also, I'm a little lonely right now because it's just me talking. I usually have someone to talk to during these episodes, but it's just me. So let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed these episodes. And I just want to do a recap on 2025 to talk about the incredible episodes that we had on the Worship Keys podcast. So whether you're listening on the podcast right now or watching on YouTube, thank you. I just want to take a moment to say, don't take it for granted that you guys are with us on this journey to learn and get better. We really have 4 different quadrants of what I do when I host these episodes and the topics we focus on. So one topic is music theory. One topic is sound design. One topic is ministry encouragement. And the last one is industry tips. So any of the episodes fall under any of those 4 quadrants. And so you guys love music theory. You guys love sound design. We do a ton of those more educational and tutorials. And we go through Ableton sessions, production tips. We talk about chord progressions. We talk about all kind of music theory stuff. We also do not just your plain and simple piano-based things, but we also do sound design for pads and synths and even organ, Hammond B3 organ settings. What's your drawbars at? There's all kind of different things that we do here on the Worship Keys channel. But thank you guys for being a part. I just want to do a full run through. A full rewind, if you will, of the whole 2025 year. This April of 2026 will be 2 years of the Worship Keys podcast being a podcast. So can't believe that it's up. Coming up will be completed two full years. But this past year has been the first full calendar year through. So I just want to go through all these episodes because they were just really fun. And to me, this is kind of like just a journal entry for me, a remembrance video to recap, close off the year. So thank y'all for being a part. Also, a quick announcement for 2026. We are wanting to do a few in-person Worship Keys workshops. And I know we're doing one in Nashville. I've thought about doing it in different cities. I don't want to list off cities because I don't want to be wrong. But, well, maybe I'll mention one. But we do want to do one in Atlanta. We might want to do one in Orlando. So we're looking at doing some in Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. We might do one in Birmingham, Alabama, more of the southeast area, but we're not opposed to going other places too if you have something in mind. We want to do more community-based things and meet you guys. A lot of you guys who have been keeping up with the podcast and the YouTube channel, thank you. I want to be able to say, hey, meet you in person and say, what's going on? Tell me about your church. Tell me about your life. So we want to have some more in-person events where we can actually dive deeper. We can take some Q&A. So it's basically what we do on the camera right now with my guests, but in person with all of you, which actually will be more exciting than just recording it, right? Okay, so let's do a full recap on 2025 year on the Worship Keys podcast. Let's go. All right, so the very first episode that we had in 2025 was episode 38 with David Fosscraft of Sunday Sounds, and the title was Best App for Worship Keys Players in 2025. And let me tell you, Sunday Sounds has an app called Sunday Keys, and it is still the best app for Worship Keys players. If you're just getting into sound design, this is a great app for you. Even if you've been a keys player for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you want a great app on your iPad or whatever that can pull up some great sounds and great patches on the fly, Sunday Keys app is where it's at. So this episode was incredible. David Fosscraft, thank you, man, for being so incredible for the Worship Keys community in general. I remember in 2017, I first used your product, Mainstage Template. When I was an undergrad in college, I was playing keys at my college ministry, and I used Sunday Sounds Mainstage Template with the tonic player and everything. It was simple, it was great. You adapted it over time, it got better and better. What was really cool in this episode was the AI patch builder. AI as a buzzword, right? We know about ChatGPT, and we know about Gemini, and we know about other AI tools that are out there. You can use AI to actually build out your patches. Isn't that incredible? If you use Sunday Keys, let us know in the comments too. Let us know how great it is, okay?
It works in any language, not just in English. So international viewers, like this works in whatever language is comfortable for you. But it also translates emoji. We'll do a Christmas tree, and then we'll do Santa, and then we'll do Mrs. Claus. And what I'm thinking we'll get is something like Christmas themes, like a Christmas patch.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
This is wild.
Okay. Yeah.
Things take time. Merry Christmas, y'all. Oh my goodness. If you guys do not go get this app right now, you need to get this before Christmas. You need to get this before Easter. You need to get this right now.
Second episode of 2025, episode number 39, Best Atmospheric Pads for Worship with Isaac of Aerospace Audio. So this pedal right here, Atmosphere pedal, this is version 2. Now, Isaac, you have version 3 out, and I have not yet tested it out or seen it in person. But if you have seen it in person, let us know in the comments. Tell us how great it is. Because the version 2 is really cool. Love the knob here with the volume. You can do MIDI in. You got your left, right for stereo outs. You got your power. You got USB-C here. Really intuitive worship pads. And a lot of worship keys players use it. A lot of my guests have used this. I can start listing off different guests who uses this. One of them, Caleb King, Drew Pickens. The list goes on and on of worship keys players who use this pedal. It's really great. They also have an app that has drone pads as well. Sunday Sounds also has droning pads on their Sunday Keys app. Drone pads, very important. I've also seen bands who don't have any keys player at all. Maybe it's a drummer, a bass player, and acoustic guitar. And the acoustic guitarist has this pedal down on his feet and he's running the pads, right? Because they don't have a keys player and they want to fill up that ambient space. So this pad's great. You can definitely check out that episode with Isaac. Isaac is the owner of Aerospace Audio. Shout out to you, Isaac. Would love to talk about version 3 when you can.
Mesosphere is one I've been using a lot lately. So this is the coldest layer of the atmosphere. This one's just real nice, brisk, and icy. I'll turn this up so you can hear some of these like cold textures. And then the next one up is Thermosphere. And this one's just a little bit more warmer. This one brings in a little bit more movement. This one's red, and it just captures just the warmth of that layer of the atmosphere.
All right. Next episode we had was How to Reharmonize Worship with Clark Beckham. Y'all, Clark Beckham is the best vocalist we've ever had on the Worship Keys podcast. Absolutely incredible. On this episode, it's over an hour long. He does some examples of reharmonizing songs. He did Run to the Father. I know that one for sure. So we don't just always have to play the 1, 4, 6, 5. We can change things up every now and then, okay? So he does a great job explaining how to do that in worship and how to not do it while being a distraction. I mean, he's incredible. But yeah, he was runner-up on American Idol. He probably should have won it all the way. But you guys can hear his full testimony, his full story, and how to reharmonize worship.
It says play skillfully. Does that mean skillfully but basically? Are you allowed to do more? You know, one Christian artist said, it's like, why am I allowed to play better at the bar than I am the church?
Wow.
Why am I allowed to play better for drunk people than I am for the King of Kings?
Man.
So did he give us these gifts? Yeah. So let's use them
Absolutely.
for him. Now there is the point of how do you lead a congregation in worship? And that's interesting because
Right.
Here's the thing though, they've got the words on the screen. If they know the melody and you've sung the melody, they need to be led in the spirit more than they need to be led in the lyrics.
Come on.
Or the melody.
Come on.
Because leadership is not about telling people what to do. Leadership is about being aspirational for people who are watching to say, I want to do that.
That's good.
But Eddie James told Joel Barnes, and Joel talks about this. He said, the best way to make people hungry is to eat in front of them. Your responsibility as a leader is to feast on the stage. And if I'm feasting on stage, I'm going to sing, man. God gave me a great gift to sing, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I've communed with him in those moments of runs and in chords and things, and I'm going to do that. And that's my job, to lead people to the throne room. And in order to do that, I need to praise him with everything I have.
Love that.
And if my heart's in the right place, we're good to go.
Yeah.
And so there's no issue there. I speak Jesus. Here it comes. Speak Jesus from the mountain. Jesus in the street. Jesus for my family over every enemy. Jesus for my family. I speak the name of Jesus.
Episode number 41, How to Avoid Fatigue in Your Worship Ministry with Jamie from Ascension Worship. Jamie, I love you, man. You are awesome. This specific episode came from Worship Innovators Conference, and you had a session about how to avoid fatigue, how to avoid burnout. A lot of us, if you're in ministry, especially around Christmas time or especially around Easter time, you get burnout and you have a lot of fatigue because there's a lot of demands. You know, there's a lot of time and effort into these Christmas programs, into the Easter program, and you're spending extra time and energy and just emotions into this season. And there's a lot of things that go in. Like, why are we so burnt out? Why are we have so much fatigue going on in the church right now? Church hurt, everything that goes into that. How do we actually prevent it before we get to that breaking point? This conversation is important and it's crucial, and it's not glamorous, but we need to talk about it. One controversial thing you said, Jamie, was about how we need to eliminate midweek rehearsals. We have so many unnecessary midweek rehearsals. People did not like that. People really like their midweek rehearsals. So, but I will tell you, as someone, I can attest to this. If you can, if you're a worship leader, your keys player, you can suggest this for your church. Eliminate the midweek rehearsal. If you're rehearsing for 2 or 3 hours on a simple 2, 3, 4 song set list, I don't know why you're doing that, you know? Now, if it's very complicated, you need that extra rehearsal, do it. There's just other ways around it. So anyway, that one, that episode was more controversial than I thought it was going to be, Jamie.
The midweek rehearsal should not be the first time that your band is hearing the songs. It should not be a time for your band to sit down and learn the songs. So as us as leaders are preparing our team and preparing culture, we want to create an expectation that when we come to rehearsals, we what? We know our music, and we run the songs, and we get home to our families. Us as leaders, if we can shave off any kind of time, it makes a world of difference when that husband shows up an hour earlier than he normally is from rehearsal. He can tuck kids in bed. When we start looking at volunteers, most people love to play. Most musicians love to play. Most musicians will tell you they don't need a break. Would you agree? Yeah. Guess who needs the break? The family. When you start really looking at, is Wednesday, a midweek rehearsal, really effective than not having a midweek rehearsal when it comes to home time for families to be together, when there's already 40, 50 hours a week that we're spending, already fatigue in the job, fatigue at home, and now we're creating fatigue at church.
Another breakout session that was an episode here on my podcast, episode number 42, How to Approach Spontaneity in Modern Worship, with Jonathan from 10K Fam. Jonathan, thank you for talking about spontaneity in worship. It's a big topic. Some churches do it, some churches don't. And how do we approach that? Where did it come from? When did people start doing this stuff in modern worship, flowing beyond the chord charts, beyond the planning center, beyond the click tracks? How do we ebb and flow with spontaneity? Check that episode out.
The reason spontaneity in worship is a thing is because God is inherently relational, and all real relationships are dynamic. There are certain work-related relationships that are not dynamic. If you have a dictatorial boss who doesn't ever ask you your opinion and just tells you, do this, okay, that's not a real relationship. All relationships, genuine relationships, are inherently dynamic. Meaning that as much as I can come prepared to engage you in conversation, the second that I say something to you and I intend for you to hear it, I have to be prepared for all variety of responses. And worship is the same way. Oftentimes we think of worship as our static response to who God is and what God has done throughout history. But that's just half of what worship is. Worship also is dynamic, because as we're responding to God, guess what? He's also responding to us. This is not a static thing. I have heard in circles so many times people who they don't really grasp the nature of spontaneous worship say, why does it have to happen in the moment?
All right, episode number 43, easiest way to run tracks at church with Matt McCoy from Loop Community. Matt is a pioneer for running tracks. I'm telling you, this really is the simplest way to run tracks is on Loop Community's Prime app. You can run it on your iPhone, you can run it on your iPad, similar to Sunday Sounds too. And by the way, it's integrated with Sunday Sounds. So you can press play on the tracks and it'll trigger different patches on your Sunday Keys app, which is really cool. They also have full integration with lyrics as well. And lyrics, chord charts on your confidence monitor, game changer. It's amazing. Check it out. Also, Matt's he's an Ableton Live certified trainer. So he understands the Ableton world, and we have a lot of episodes on Ableton as well. Ableton's great for running tracks. He just made a simpler app for it, you know? He made an app that does about like 10% of what Ableton does, because that's about what the average church needs for running tracks, and he made an app on it. It's really great.
I see this all the time in app development and hardware development, that like in website development, user interface, like it is way harder to make something really easy and simple to use than it is to just put all the features in it.
Right.
Because you see that all the time. There's worship apps out there right now that they've just put every feature imaginable in it because they hear people saying, oh, we want this. We want the app to do this. We want the app to do this. And we get it all the time too. People come to Loop Community to say, why doesn't Prime do this? Why doesn't Prime do this? And I'm like, it doesn't, because we've chosen not to do that.
Right.
Because if we do it, it's going to make it complex. And it's going to make it the opposite of what our mission is.
All right, moving on. Episode number 44, different levels of playback rigs. This was a great, insightful episode with Seth Penn, with Seth Builds Rigs, and he builds out these fly racks of incredible playback rigs, track rigs, keys rigs. He built the keys rigs at Crosspoint Church here in Nashville, and it's an incredible episode. Check it out if you're interested in building out your own rig, professional rig, by the way. I mean, he's built these rigs for Stephen Chris Chapman, Amy Grant. The list goes on of a lot of professional artists, touring artists, and he knows how to do it. So shout out to you, Seth.
The CP88 is great because it has 1/4-inch inputs and then XLR outs, so we don't need a DI. And this input has a little trim pot so you can adjust, but it just works. There's no setup in the menu. Whatever you plug into that, you're just gonna hear through the outputs. I made these cable looms just to have everything super tidy. Power for this rig, for both these pedals, power for the keyboard. Got these little hooks that just happen to line up perfectly with some of the screw holes. USB is just a bonus. Some people use it, so you can use this as just a MIDI controller if you want to bypass the sounds. But yeah, this loom is going in here, and the sustain pedal I kept out of the loom because, as we all know, those things don't last. I will say this Proline Guitar Center brand has been great. We have had very few issues, so maybe if you guys don't know about that, check them out. They're cheap too. That's outside the loom, but it's all run together. And then the XLR outs and goes down along the side and goes into this little junction box.
Okay, episode number 45, discipleship in your worship team. This is not as glamorous. We need discipleship. We can't be just willy-nilly and not be accountable to anyone in our church. We need that. It's biblical. And shout out to Jen Choi of On Water Podcast for being part of that conversation. Check that out.
Because I have had multiple people leave the worship team simply because of community. simply because I did not feel connected to the team or the leaders. And this is the reason why, is because when there is no actual connection with the team or with the leaders, you start to just become a slave. I'm not here because I want to do this big responsibility and I want to serve in this way with my community. It's you just need a body.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. And I think we underestimate people's need for connection, even as we serve, right? I'm not just going to stay here and just be a slave to whatever is needed by the church. Then it doesn't matter how I feel or what I'm going through or how I'm experiencing this ministry. Yeah. It's just as long as I'm here and I'm a body that's filling a space, right? And that's how people get burnt out. No one cares about how you feel. They care that you're just there to fill a spot, to check off a planning center request, like I'm just here to do that. And those people end up leaving. Yeah. And what's worse is that those kind of people end up leaving, and the people who stay are only people who actually just want to fill a space and want to be on the stage for that reason. And it shows their heart posture. The people who want community and want to be able to do this with their community and be connected with their leadership and their people, if they leave, the only people who are left are just there because they want to play an instrument. Because they want to sound good. Right. Because they want to be on a set that sounds good compared to the other ones. Those are the only people that end up staying. And it's a disservice to the worship team. Absolutely. And you know what? Because there's a lack of accountability and a lack of discipleship, those people don't get checked. Right. They don't get checked. Right. And it's just a system that doesn't cater towards people whose actual hearts are in it for the worship. The people who are just in it for just singing a song, playing a song, and leaving. Right? Yeah. And then you know what those people do is they get up and then they drop their instrument and they go home and they don't care about who's on their next set or who they're connecting with at church. They just leave.
Okay, episode number 46, tips for tuning and maintaining your acoustic piano with Austin Sill of Sill Keyworks. I have an acoustic piano right behind me. I've been in Nashville for over 3 years now. I've gotten this tuned twice. And I recommend having your home piano tuned at least once a year if you can. And then, of course, at your church, you should get that tuned every time there's a new season. So 3 or 4 times a year, at least. Some people do more. And then, of course, if you're in a studio, you're recording, you're out on the road, you need to get that tuned every time there's a session. That's what a lot of people do. If you're interested in being a piano tuner, check out that episode.
Some people think they have to tune it once every 5 years or 10 years. By doing that, you'll miss a window of something goes wrong, it'll be a bigger problem later if there's a crack or something happens like that. Another misconception is where the piano is located. A lot of times we'll get some of our clients saying that the piano can't be in an outside wall. Traditionally, that was the case with older homes, maybe poor insulation, that kind of thing, but modern homes are just fine. So it can really just be anywhere.
That's awesome. Even near windows.
Now, not as long as it's not facing the sun. So the sun comes in, then that does cause problems, but as long as it's away from any light source.
Okay, episode number 47, Worship Keys Tips with Tyler Wester. Tyler, Church of the Highlands. He's been on staff with Church of the Highlands in Birmingham, Alabama for 10 years now, and he shares his best tips.
If you're an MD, most of the time you're playing an instrument, I think you need to be as proficient enough on your instrument so that you don't have to focus as much on it. Yep. When it comes to whether I can play this syncopated line and talk at the same time, or if I need to be able to talk, you might have to pick one over the other.
I think it goes back to how y'all don't have music stands either.
No.
To rely on.
No.
Which is cool.
Which actually is really, it's kind of nice in some ways.
Yeah. I love that.
Because you start memorizing the song, but then you also, it makes memorizing songs a lot easier in general too.
The next episode, part 2, episode 48, keys and tracks rig. Tyler, you share your complete tracks rig with us and your keys rig, and we love it. I really love that episode. It was really great. Check it out, guys.
I love the 5/7 to the 4/6.
Yes.
You can do it fast and it sounds nice. Another thing that can add a tension, but kind of add to the moment is this. So you're on the 4 and you stay over it and then you hit that the 5/4. So you're like hitting that, and it's pretty, but it's not adding that like dark tension. It's kind of like hopeful tension, if that makes sense. So it's always trying to just complement the moment. It's almost like a dance that you guys are doing together.
Right. Episode number 49, Otto Gross. It's fostering a life of creativity within your worship ministry. So a lot of times in our worship ministry, we're not able to fully be as creative as we'd want to be. So how do we approach that? What do we do? Also, Otto, I love your story, man. I mean, you had scoliosis in 8th or 9th grade, and you were primarily a drummer at the time, and you're still an incredible drummer. This Otto shares of how when he had scoliosis, he had surgery, back surgery, and he had to be at home for a long time. And they rolled his bed out to the living room, and the only instrument that he had access to was piano, because he couldn't go downstairs to his basement to where the drums were. It would hurt his back to do that. He couldn't get down there. He couldn't play drums. So the story goes he just would get off of his bed and go straight to the piano bench, and that's how he learned piano, because he couldn't get to his drums, so he just decided, hey, I might as well learn piano right now. I think that's a great story. Love that. And I love that whole episode of creativity. So part 2 with Otto, episode number 50, how to improv on piano. This was incredible. Going back to the subject of spontaneity, a lot of us are wondering, how do we be spontaneous in our worship? We have to understand some improv concepts, and some of it that comes back to jazz. Especially if you want to play in the gospel realm, you need to understand some of these concepts, and Otto does a great job explaining that. Then, guys, we move into the organ-specific episodes, 5 episodes in a row talking about the Hammond organ. And we were at Mount Zion Church in Nashville, Tennessee on their Hammond B3 organ. And y'all, these episodes were so much fun to film. And I want to thank all of my guests for being a part of this. The first episode was how to play the Hammond B3 organ. It was a complete organ overview of what everything does. I mean, the organ can be complicated, right? And thank you to Kurt Buell of Buell Institute of Music for explaining that full overview.
If I want to go to church, here's the next place I go. Having those first 4, and then that last one just makes it a little bit brighter, which you'd expect to hear in a gospel song. Something like that.
Then the second episode was about 5 important tips for church organists, like the 5 things that every church Hammond organist needs to know, especially for the gospel realm.
This is the big panther growl. If you've got all 3. So you might do something like that. You see what I mean? Something like that.
The next organ episode was with DeJuan Hill of the Choir Room. DeJuan, thank you for being on, man. You were so incredible, and you talked about playing organ live versus in the studio. You talked about different techniques that we use in modern worship. Love your music, love your arrangement, love your heart, and I love the Choir Room. Y'all go see the Choir Room if you can. They're incredible.
The thing about keyboard players, including piano players, we can't bend notes. So where a guitar player or a trumpet player can get, you can't get that. So what I do is make it sticky. I'll put the E flat and the E together. Here I'm playing both, and it's the only way we bend without a bending wheel. And then same thing going down. So it turns into. And then the flourish up to it is. So it turns what could be a really boring line into, oh, that sticks out. So. It's like the most classic rock and roll gospel lick into a chorus or verse.
Okay, and then we had Virgil Strafford with more organ tips, and Virgil's beard is he's this big white beard. Virgil, you look great, and thank you for being on the podcast this past year. You were incredible, man.
He's just right here. And he doesn't go very far. And you just go with them. They're leading. MD is calling numbers. The trick to that in those moments, the numbers are in reference to what the bass player needs to be playing.
Right.
The chords can be not open to interpretation, but victims of interpretation sometimes, if you're not super specific. But I think when you have a group of people who understand the different faces of the worship service, the different moments of the worship service, they know what chord modes to play, how and how to approach it.
Episode number 55, how to get good tone on the Hammond B3 organ, why your tone matters. This episode with none other than Mr. Ralph Lofton. He's incredible. Number 56, is worship music harder than pop music? With Marcus Wiles. Marcus, thank you for being on for a great conversation, talking about touring, being on the road, your keys rig, and you talked about the difference between worship music and pop music. Check it out.
Sometimes worship music is harder to learn than some of the most arranged pop stuff. Because it's so repetitive, and then these producers or these arrangers are like, hey, we're going to add this extra bar right here for no reason. And you have to remember that. Worship music can get so homogenous, which is what makes it so easy to flow, which is the point, right? Yeah. I find that if you're playing for an artist that has arrangements, there's like hits and stuff. For me, even though it might be technically more difficult, I actually find that easier to learn because I can just be singing it. I can listen to it in my car and I can sing along with it. Like how...
Well, it's written to be catchy.
Exactly. Like
pop.
It's hard to sing 6/4-1-5 at 85 BPM and 4 or 5 songs and know like the minute differences between them. At least as a keys player, I feel like maybe guitarists or drummers feel differently because they have more parts. Yeah. Keys players, there's definitely some right-hand parts, but it's a lot of just pads. And so it's not that it's difficult. It's just that they all occupy the same space in my brain.
Yeah, it's hard to separate what's what.
Episode number 57, what it means to be a pro musician with Louis Higuera.
Another role that people don't really consider is your personality and your work ethic. I've been a part of tours where the guys in the band are phenomenal. They can play circles around anybody, but hanging out off the stage with them was just such a pain because they just weren't personable, or they were very difficult to work with personality wise. They were super opinionated, which, not to say that you can't have an opinion, but at the end of the day, man, people don't realize when you are on, say you're on a touring gig, right? You're going to be on stage. If you're playing for the headliner, you're probably going to be on stage for max 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. There's probably going to be a break in there at some point. The rest of the 22 hours of that day, you're spending with the people that you're on tour with.
Episode number 58, Lo-Fi Piano Worship with Sam Garner. Sam plays a lot with Shane and Shane and the Worship Initiative. Sam, thank you for being on the Worship Keys podcast this past year. You were incredible, man. You need to go check out his music on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple. He has lo-fi church music out there, which is really cool, especially if you're in college, you're studying, get some study vibes going. Love your sound design. Definitely check out his channel too.
Every single time you run a song back, it's just less fun. I hate rehearsal.
Yes.
There are some groups that I play where it's the first time we're running the song is in the set. Like, we just don't rehearse it. That's the most optimal form. If I could have everything I ever wanted, that's the way. Obviously, that is not always the best thing for the situation you're in. You need to rehearse stuff. For me, I can learn most songs by just listening to them because there's not a lot going on chord-wise to not be able to learn a song, especially by the time you get to the service. Like, you'll have 2 or 3 reps playing the song. You'll feel comfortable knowing it. Really, the big thing is, hey, can I learn whatever this hook or lead line is in the car, or do I need to sit down for 5 minutes and play it? But if it's something that I can just learn with my ear, then I'll just learn it that way, just so I don't have to sit down and play it until I need to. But again, that's what I do because I can. I think, what matters is that you show up prepared and you play what you're supposed to. So if that's not something that you can do, then don't hear me saying that that's okay. Sit down and play the music at home and learn it if that's what you need to do to get comfy on your feet, which is nothing wrong with that. All of us have different backgrounds and abilities. The most important thing is that you show up ready to play.
Episode number 59, the best advice for Worship Keys players for sound design specifically. And this was with David O. Ramirez. David, you are the sound wizard.
How do I get a new sound? That was always my thing. It's very biblical to make a new sound. I never wanted to just pigeonhole myself into, these are the tools I always use. If I buy a Prophet, I'm going to exhaust the Prophet.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn every detail about it, literally exhaust every ounce of sound it has, inject into music in the right way. I'm not going to force it. Like, I'm going to learn it so that I know how to insert it when it's necessary. And then I would sell the Prophet, get money back to buy something else. A Juno. Yeah. These are all examples. And then exhaust the Juno. And then for a year or two, really exhaust that. But okay, I want to try something else. Let's sell the Juno and get my money back. Put that into something else. And then over years, it's, I know how to maneuver Juno. I know how to maneuver a Prophet. And then a lot of these analog synths, it's all kind of the same basic math. So then you can get on any keyboard and you're like, I know what the ADSR is. I know what the filter is. Then you just know how to program things on the fly, like even if it's something you never worked on.
Showed us your whole template on Logic. That was episode number 60.
Starting to trip off. So I find these little micro loops, and there's always tons of sounds to scroll through. And I always go in this mode, because then I could see the file, and then I just, say I just like this little guy.
Episode number 61 was how to program keys and synths within Logic Pro X. So listen, if you need someone to teach you the way for sound design, especially when it comes to studio world, David O. Ramirez, you need to go check those episodes out, guys. All right, episode number 62, how to produce multitracks for church in Logic Pro X specifically with Josh Brown. Josh, you're an incredible producer. Thank you for being on the podcast. You guys need to check that episode out if you have not. Episode number 62, you did Chasing After You, and you just kind of made your own arrangement of it in the moment. And this episode's over an hour long, but you guys, it's well worth it. We also have stems available for you to download with that if you want to try his arrangement out in your own church. I think you'll enjoy it.
Here we go, the special. Yeah, buddy.
Episode number 63, How to Play Aux Keys for Worship with Micaiah Wessler. Micaiah, thank you for showing us the way on aux keys. At this point, we have not done, and we've had, at this point, we had over 60 episodes, and we have not done one on auxiliary keys. You have clarified for us what the role of an aux key player does. So thank you for that. Check that out if y'all are interested, if you haven't watched it already.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Slide it off it. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. Little things, you know? So I'm still holding the fort right here. Still holding the chords. You always have to slide off of it. I mean, come on now.
Episode number 64, 5 chord progressions that every worship keys player needs to know. Thank you so much to Alex Smith, Alex on the keys with a Z, by the way. Alex, thank you for being on the Worship Keys podcast this past year. And this is geared more towards the beginner keys player. If you need to know some go-to progressions to play on the piano for your worship keys playing, this episode's for you. Need to check it out.
If you think about a vocal ad-libbing, it's the same as a piano player playing a feel, like something like that. I can't do all those vocally. But if you think about all those fun things that they do, that's basically what embellishing is on the keys. And so when I play, I think about, would this sound good if someone sang it?
Episode number 65 and number 66 included Evan Fernald of the Belonging Co. Thank you, Evan, for being on the Worship Keys podcast. These episodes, you talked about how to create a great sound design, so we get to see inside of your Ableton session. And then the part 2 was actually how to run tracks in spontaneous worship. A lot of us equate tracks to tying you down and not allowing your band to actually ebb and flow and change things on the fly. But Evan, you showed us that it's actually possible to still use click track and use it in live real time. And if people want to loop the bridge again, or you want to go to a different verse, or you want to do something else, you can totally do it on the fly through tools with Ableton and Touch OSC to control it. Your template's available there on the episode. Y'all need to check it out if you're interested in that, episode 66 and 65.
We're going to go back to the bridge. So the band is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we went back to the bridge, and I matched up with the timing of the band, even if Ableton was counting with the band or not. So that's a great way to be able to reintroduce tracks. I don't have to worry about Ableton's count. It opens up some flexibility there.
Evan, thank you again, man. You're incredible. Episode number 67, Natalie Lane talking about funky chord progressions in CCM. Natalie Lane has been killing it. Your recent Christmas album was incredible, Natalie. Thank you for being on the Worship Keys podcast to show us the way.
To be grateful for, yeah, grateful for, grateful for, grateful for, yeah. In the morning, I'll be grateful. In the evening, I'll be grateful. 'Cause I know that you are faithful, you are faithful, you are faithful. In the good times, I'll be grateful. In the hard nights, I'll be grateful. 'Cause I know that you are faithful, yeah. So I'll take a look around. There's something to be grateful for. It's waiting to be found. Underneath the surface, everything I'm searching for, couldn't find it in me. I found it in you. I'm learning to see. You're teaching me to take a look around. There's something to be grateful for, yeah. Grateful for, grateful for, grateful for. grateful for. Grateful for. Oh, there's something to be grateful for.
Number 68, my personal childhood piano teacher, Mr. Tim Abel, came on the podcast, and the whole episode is about the impact that a good piano teacher can have, because Mr. Tim was my personal piano teacher and love him greatly. He was incredible. I mean, one of my favorite people ever.
Oh Lord, you're beautiful. Your face is all I see. For when your eyes are on this child, your grace abounds to me.
Episode number 70, Worship Keys Sound Design with Spooky Scott. Spooky Scott Miller of Red Rocks Worship. Scott, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You are an incredible keys player, incredible guy. I know you're a world traveler. I don't know where you are in the world right now as you're seeing this, but thank you for being on the podcast this past year. And if you're ever in Colorado, ever in Littleton, go see Red Rocks Worship. Go visit Spooky Scott. And I love Red Rocks Worship. They do such a great job.
Especially at Red Rocks, we just do a lot of more moodier stuff. Maybe end with a high song, but I'll bring the treble down -12, mids to about -7, and now it gives it, maybe pull reverb back up. So it mellows it out a little bit more.
And along with that, thank you to Micah Weber for talking about volunteering as a keys player. I mean, we have a lot of professional keys players who this is what they do as a profession, but a lot of us, we're volunteer keys players. And we volunteer our time and effort. Maybe we have a different job and we volunteer our time to play keys. How do we not get burnt out with that? How do we not have the fatigue of that? Thank you to Micah sharing your story and your testimony. Micah at Red Rocks Worship.
I would definitely recommend going back to the first love, getting in the secret place and locking eyes with the Father.
Come on, man.
And just focusing on Jesus and why you do what you do, because it's not about getting on a stage and putting on a performance, which is volunteers that can really catch up to getting to be that point, and you feel like that's what it's all about. Oh, flashy lights. Oh, smoke. Okay, here they come. Another service. Let's do this. But when you lock in the secret place and get your intimate time with Jesus, when you focus on that and you know who you're doing it for and why you're doing it, you won't get burnt out.
Also, episode number 72, How to Organize Your Ableton Session with Andres Pais. Andres, thank you so much, man, for being on the podcast this past year. It's a very techie episode. Like, you gotta know, you gotta specifically be like, you know what, I'm gonna organize Ableton. Let me see what this guy's doing. That episode's for you.
I have a bunch of MIDI triggers that are basically just like single MIDI notes that tell Ableton to do certain things. So, for example, for transitions, sometimes while I'm playing, if we're crashing out, I don't want to do the extra step of like stopping tracks, selecting the next song, and then pressing play. So all I have to do, I have these pre-map things right here at the very beginning. I'll close this. And all I have to do is copy and paste.
Episode number 73, How to Blend CCM and Gospel on Piano. We got to understand the differences between CCM and Gospel, but it's great to know both and have both. And CCM relies more heavily on sound design and like thicker pads and synths, and Gospel also relies on good sound design itself, but it's more about the proficiency of the notes you're playing and the structure and the voicings of your chords rather than the tone of your patch, if that makes sense. Check that episode out with Carlos Drake.
You can put some chord variations in there. On that 5, you can spice that up a little bit. More spice. Stuff like that. Again, using the whole keyboard. And this is stuff that Top Tribbett has done. So listen to them, see what they're doing. So how does that help the CCM player? So again, when we intersect into worship. So if I was trying to gently bring a church into the gospel side, you can start with a gospel song that's easy. Everything to me. Play the song and then watch right here. Speak the name of Jesus. Same key. You could merge those two songs together in a worship format where you have the gospel, you have the CCM, and then take the same principles that you're learning from gospel.
Episode number 74 and 75, by the way, are with Anji Powell and Casey Powell. Guys, thank y'all so much for letting me come up to Rochester, New York to film with you guys at your church all the way up in New York. My wife and I traveled up there, and we had a great time with you guys. Thank y'all for being on the Worship Keys podcast to talk about navigating music ministry. And also, Anji, you did your full keys rundown and your full sound design. Like, you showed us everything that you use within your Touch OSC template and what you do on the Nord and what you do in Ableton. Y'all need to check that out. Episodes number 74 and 75. Also, Casey, next time we're there, we got to get you on the organ. I know that the sanctuary was under renovation when we were there, but we got to hear you on the organ. The real organ, by the way, not the Nord organ, although nothing against the Nord organ, but it's just not like the real thing.
It's just... making sure I know where passing chords go. Like that, a lot of drop twos.
I got it. Sweet. I also got like a 808 drop, but I use those in different times. Another tip about Touch OSC, I technically do not have to ever touch my computer if I don't want to. Everything I need is to have my fingertips right here.
Episode number 76, my good friend Roger Ryan talks about how to produce demos and multitracks in Logic Pro X. Roger is definitely a studio rat, but you're a great live arranger, and he's a clinician at Berklee School of Music in Abu Dhabi. And thank you, Roger, for coming on again on the Worship Keys podcast.
The Powell brothers. Just go to Gospel Producers and check out their stuff. It's amazing. And we stand on their dad's shoulders. The Powells are just an amazing music family out of the Northeast. I'm honored to know them and to play with their sounds. More energy now. That's a part of her melody. So I have a loop and I have a live kit happening at the same time.
Number 77 was how to create a worship patch from scratch in Omnisphere with a Trey Singleton. Trey, thanks for being on the podcast, man, and congrats on your new position at your new church, by the way. I hope that's going well.
A nice warm feel. And that's keys. So now we're going to add strings. This is when I turn on the expression pedal because it gives me control over the volume. So here goes the strings. So this expression pedal down. that's that patch right there. So how I layer my patches, so this is kind of bright. So what I'm going to do is add another string patch to give it some warmth.
Episode number 78, How to Make Latin Multitracks for Worship with Christian Diaz. Chris, and that's Vibe with Chris, by the way. Vessel Conference coming up January 9th and 10th in Atlanta. Man, thank you for being on the Worship Keys podcast this past year, man. You were so much fun. In this episode, you did a short little arrangement of What a Beautiful Name and Latin version, which is awesome. We haven't done anything Latin on the channel so far, so thank you for coming on and sharing your heart. Love you, man. Looking forward to seeing you at Vessel Conference.
2, 3.
Episode number 79, Playing Keys for the Choir Room and sharing good MD tips with Marcus Perry. Marcus Perry, you're the man. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the pod. And then episode number 80, part 2 with Marcus was how to build worship tracks for worship in Logic Pro X. Incredibly insightful episode on building the Multitracks for Fire by CC Winans. Thank you, Marcus, for showing us how you would do that. You're awesome, dude. And episode number 81, Minor Progressions in Worship. Again with Spooky Scott Miller of Red Rocks Worship. Thank you for showing us the way. Minor progressions are so much fun, and this was around the Halloween week.
2, 4, 6, 5 progression. So it's just kind of gives it a little bit more moodiness, you know? You'd be surprised how many worship songs you can sing over that. Even though it feels a little different, you can sing quite a few songs. Worship and CCM music, a lot of the choruses and bridges can actually be sang over multiple different chord progressions.
Episode number 82 was about NAMM show, Hammond artist, and keys advice with Doug Orlando. Doug, thanks for hopping on. I met you at Worship Innovators Conference, and you're incredible, man.
Bethel or Hillsong,
big pads.
They didn't have the organ, you know, they were just so into the pads, but there's something that the organ brings in the big ending or the big chorus or whatever where you can just hit it and you go, wow.
Yes.
And it's
Wail,
going.
growl.
And then Fast and Slow Leslie, you know, it's the Doppler effect.
Absolutely.
Engineering
Absolutely.
is what that is if you think about physics.
Episode number 83, Spirit-Led Spontaneous Worship with Caleb King, which Caleb King plays for Bethel signed artists Garrett and Kate. And we also did a full keys rundown with Caleb here at the end of the year as well.
My favorite thing is just whenever we get to an unknown spot, just staying consistent with where we are so that it's smooth. At the end of the day, they're the ones singing and speaking over the room.
Yeah.
I need to follow them, you know? So for me, just honestly supporting them. And you said, do you look into the room? And it kind of depends on where I am. I typically try to find one person. Like I might gaze up a couple times, try to find one person that is having a moment. And that's my focus. It doesn't matter how good I play. It doesn't matter how good Kate sings, incredible singer.
She
or
sounds
how,
like Carrie Job. I mean, she is her own,
yes,
but
it doesn't matter what we do, as long as Holy Spirit has a moment with at least one person. And you know, Holy Spirit honors purity, and they're some of the purest people I know, and I strive to be as pure as them.
Number 84 and 85 was with Otto and Jayna Gross. We did Thanksgiving worship set, and we did how to prepare for a worship set with Jayna and Otto Gross. Otto, which we've talked about earlier.
I also want to speak towards like our preparation not being overcooked. What we're not trying to do is like have a performance. We want it to be authentic. I think there has to be fluidity and just being flexible. Preparation is key, but also in your preparation, be prepared to pivot if the Holy Spirit leads in another way.
Episode number 86 and 87 was with Mr. Ralph Lofton, again on the Hammond organ. This time he talked about Christmas time, Christmas traditions, and he played some his favorite Christmas tunes. Number 88 was a rig rundown with Caleb King, who we just talked about. Number 88, worship versus performance. Okay, a lot of us have that conversation, the balance of like, how do we remain pure in our worship versus being performative on stage? And so it was a good, honest conversation that we had with Tyler Wester and Andrew Sharp from Church of the Highlands. Right after that, it was Christmas production with Andrew Sharp and Tyler Wester of Church of the Highlands. Again, thank you for showing us inside Ableton Session an example of producing one of your Christmas songs. Love Christmas at Highlands. I hope you guys had a chance to go. If you're in the Birmingham area, I hope y'all had a chance to go see Christmas at Highlands, Church of the Highlands.
So what's going on in that little break is a lot of amazing vocal stacks.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel.
And again, those were all the episodes. That's the final recap. That took way longer than I even thought. I tried to be short with this, but for all of you who are viewing this, thank y'all for being a part. Definitely comment. Let me know, what was your favorite episode? Who was your favorite guest? Who do you want to see back? What topics do you want to see in 2026? We want to add value to you guys, encouragement, and we pray nothing but blessings and love, peace and strength and endurance over 2026 year. And I pray God continues to bless you in your Worship Keys ministry at your church, whether that is a volunteer basis or it's your full-time job, whether you're a touring musician, whether you're in the studio. I just pray God continues to bless you, and remember to lean on Him. Don't rely on your own strength and understanding. It's not by power, by might, but it's by His Spirit. And so we just pray that you continue to rely on Him in 2026. Thank you guys so much again. Carson Bruce with the Worship Keys podcast. It's been a solo episode today, but looking forward to getting back with some guests very, very soon. So thank you for the time, and like, subscribe, all the things so we can stay connected. Feel free to email me, carson@theworshipkeys.com. Would love to talk more if you want. And also, in-person Worship Keys workshops will be coming. I don't know when they're going to be coming. We're looking at some venue options right now. But again, thank y'all so much, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Lord, if I had known how hard this road would get, I might have walked away and given up instead. I couldn't fathom all the ways you'd carry me through all those days. Oh, what I didn't know then is you were working miracles yet to be seen, turning the tide when I was desperate, praying hard down on my knees. Even now relief is coming, if not soon then up ahead. You made a way where there was none, and I trust you will again, 'cause I know now what I didn't know then. On the other side, I see your faithful hand. How could I ever question your goodness from where I stand? What I didn't know then is you were working miracles yet to be seen, turning the tide when I was desperate, praying hard down on my knees. And even now relief is coming, if not soon then up ahead. You made a way where there was none, and I trust you will again, 'cause I know now what I didn't know then. What I know now is you're a God who never leaves my side. I know now I'll always make it through the darkest night. I know now I need you every moment of this life. Your grace has taught me this. The pain can be a gift. What I didn't know then is you were working miracles yet to be seen, turning the tide when I was desperate, praying hard down on my knees. Even now relief is coming, if not soon then